The stars glittered outside the massive windows of Concordia Station. General Sarah Chen stood in her dress uniform, watching diplomats from 100 different worlds gather in the Great Hall. She was 67 years old and her hair had gone silver long ago. Her back was straight, her hands steady. She had spent 50 years of her life working for peace. Today was supposed to be simple. Sign the papers. Shake hands. Renew the treaty that had kept humans and the Galactic Empire from killing each other for 900 years. Then she could finally retire to her small farm on Earth and grow tomatoes. General Chen, Captain Marcus Webb, appeared at her elbow. He was young, only 35, and he had never seen war. None of his generation had. The Empire delegation has arrived. Sarah nodded. She watched as the aliens entered the hall. They walked with their heads high, their colorful robes flowing behind them. At the front was Ambassador Thakral, a tall creature with 4 arms and silver skin. His eyes held something Sarah did not like: contempt, arrogance. She had seen that look before, long ago, in history books. It was the look of someone who had forgotten why they should be afraid. The ceremony began. Boring speeches about friendship and cooperation filled the air. Sarah stood at attention, waiting for her turn to sign the treaty. Her mind drifted back to the war, the one her grandmother had fought in. The Human Empire War of 2947. The bloodiest conflict the galaxy had ever seen. Humans had been new to space back then. Young, weak. The Galactic Empire had decided to take human worlds, to make humanity servants. They thought it would be easy. They were wrong. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not line up in neat formations. They did not follow the rules of war. They hit and ran. They hid in asteroids and attacked supply lines. They built weapons that terrified the Empire: nuclear mines, biological agents, ships that could kamikaze at near light speed. The war lasted 30 years. Billions died on both sides. In the end, neither side won. They were both too exhausted to continue. The peace treaty was signed not because humanity surrendered, but because both sides needed to stop before everyone was dead. That was 900 years ago. 900 years of peace. 900 years of humanity staying in their small corner of space while the Empire controlled the rest of the galaxy. And now, Ambassador Thakral's voice cut through Sarah's thoughts. We renew this treaty with the humans who have remained so quiet and peaceful in their little territory. Sarah's jaw tightened. There was mockery in his voice. Some call it wisdom, Thakral continued, smiling. Others might call it cowardice, accepting such limited space when the galaxy is so large. The room went silent. Every human in the hall turned to look at the ambassador. Captain Webb's hand moved toward his sidearm, but Sarah raised one finger. Stop. She walked forward slowly, her boots clicking on the marble floor. She stopped in front of Ambassador Thakral and looked up at him. He was twice her height, but somehow he was the one who stepped back. Ambassador, Sarah said quietly, my grandmother fought in the war. She told me stories before she died. Do you know what she said? Thakral said nothing. She said the hardest thing she ever did was stop fighting. She said humanity chose peace not because we were weak, but because we were tired of being monsters. Sarah's voice was soft, but every word carried across the silent hall. Our ancestors chose peace. Pray you never see what we choose instead. The ambassador laughed nervously. Such dramatic words, General. The war was 900 years ago. Surely humanity has evolved beyond such primitive violence. Sarah did not smile. We have, but evolution works both ways. We evolved to be better at peace. We also evolved to be better at war. She turned away and walked to the signing table. The ceremony continued. Papers were signed. Hands were shaken. Everything seemed normal. Then the doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the hall. Aliens in black armor rushed inside, weapons raised. Sarah's training took over instantly. She pushed Captain Webb down behind a table as energy bolts filled the air. Purity movement, someone shouted. They are the Purity movement. Sarah knew about them. Radical aliens who believed the Empire should have finished the war 900 years ago. Who believed humans were a disease that needed to be removed. She reached for her sidearm, but pain exploded in her chest. Once. Twice. 3 times. She fell backward, blood spreading across her uniform. The world moved in slow motion. She could hear Webb screaming her name. She could see the cameras still broadcasting to every world in the galaxy. Billions watching. Good. Sarah grabbed Webb's collar and pulled him close. Blood bubbled in her throat, but she had to say the words. Had to make sure everyone heard. Protocol Omega, she whispered, but her voice carried through Webb's communicator to every human ship, every human colony, every human military base. Protocol Omega is now active. Webb's face went pale. General, no. We can negotiate. It is done, Sarah said. Her vision was darkening. I gave them peace. Now you give them justice. She thought of her farm, of tomatoes she would never grow, of peace she had built for 50 years, and she thought of what would come next. What humanity had been preparing for in secret for 900 years just in case. The attackers were already running. Security forces were flooding the hall. But it was too late. The damage was done. Sarah Chen, the woman who had dedicated her life to peace, was dying on the floor of Concordia Station. And somewhere in 1,000 human military bases, Protocol Omega was awakening. Captain Webb held her as she died. Tears ran down his face. Around them, diplomats from 100 worlds watched in horror. The Empire delegation stood frozen, realizing what had just happened. Ambassador Thakral stared at Sarah's body. For the first time, his arrogant expression was gone. He looked terrified. What is Protocol Omega? He whispered. No one answered. But in the silence, every human in the room smiled. The same cold smile. 900 years of peace was over, and the Galactic Empire was about to remember why their ancestors had been so eager to sign that treaty. Sarah's eyes closed for the last time. Her hand fell limp in Webb's grasp. The woman who had built peace was gone. What she left behind was war, the kind of war humanity had spent 900 years preparing for. The kind of war that would make the first one look like a gentle disagreement. The cameras kept recording. Every species in the galaxy watched. And somewhere, in the deep black of space, human ships began to move. The treaty was broken. The monster humanity had locked away for 9 centuries was waking up, and it was very, very hungry. 6 hours after General Chen died, President Elena Vasquez sat in the emergency council chamber deep beneath Geneva. Around the table sat the leaders of every human colony, their faces appearing on holographic screens. Some looked angry. Some looked sad. All of them looked determined. The Galactic Empire has issued a statement, Elena said, her voice tight with controlled rage. They call it a tragic incident. Rogue elements. They offer their deepest apologies. Apologies, Admiral James Harrison spat the word. He was 70 years old enough to have learned tactics from veterans who actually fought in the war. His nickname was Reaper, earned during border conflicts that the Empire never knew about. They murdered Sarah Chen in front of the entire galaxy, and they offer apologies. They also refuse to hand over the Purity Movement leaders, Elena continued. They say it would destabilize their internal politics. Silence fell over the chamber. Every person there knew what came next. The vote had already been decided before they sat down. This meeting was just a formality. Protocol Omega, Elena said. All in favor? Every hand rose. Every voice said yes. Elena looked at the camera that would broadcast her words to every human in the galaxy. 900 years ago, our ancestors fought a war that nearly destroyed us. When peace came, they made a promise. Never again would humanity be caught unprepared. Never again would we be weak. For 900 years, we have kept that promise. She pressed a button. Across human space, encrypted signals began to transmit. Protocol Omega is now active. May God have mercy on them, because we will not. On the planet New Boston, 10-year-old children stopped their math lessons. Their teachers pulled out different books. Books about tactics and strategy that had been waiting in locked cabinets for 900 years. The children did not look surprised. They had always known this day might come. Every human child knew. On the mining station series, workers pressed hidden buttons. Walls slid away to reveal weapon factories that had been built in secret, maintained in secret, waiting. The mining equipment had always been dual purpose. The refineries had always been able to produce military-grade materials. Now they switched over in minutes. On the cargo ship Peaceful Trader, Captain Liu entered a code into her ship's computer. The hull plating slid aside. Weapons emerged, massive railguns and missile pods. The engines, which had been running at 20% capacity for 900 years, roared to full power. The ship shook as it transformed from a slow cargo vessel into a warship faster than anything the Empire had ever built. All across human space, the same scene repeated. Thousands of times, tens of thousands. Admiral Harrison walked through the corridors of military command. heading for a door that had been sealed for 900 years. Project Archive. He pressed his palm against the scanner and it opened with a hiss of old air. Inside, Dr. Yuki Tanaka waited. She was small, thin, and her eyes burned with an intensity that made even the Admiral nervous. She had spent her entire life working on Project Archive. Her mother had done the same. And her grandmother. A family dedicated to one purpose, show me, Harrison said. Dr. Tanaka smiled. It was not a nice smile. We never stopped researching. Never stopped developing. The Empire thought we were peaceful. We were just patient. She led him through the facility. It stretched for miles underground, laboratories, testing ranges, manufacturing centers, all hidden beneath the surface of Mars disguised as mining operations. Nanomachine swarms, Dr. Tanaka said, pointing at containers filled with gray dust. They can disassemble a ship atom by atom. Each machine is smaller than a blood cell and they reproduce using enemy materials. She moved to the next section. Quantum entanglement communicators. Instant communication across any distance. The Empire still uses light-speed transmissions. We can coordinate our forces in real time. They cannot. More displays. More weapons. Each one more terrifying than the last. Biological agents keyed to specific alien DNA. Viral AI that corrupts computer systems. Missiles that can accelerate to 90% light speed. Zero-point energy bombs. Weapons that manipulate gravity itself. Harrison stared at the arsenal humanity had built in secret. How? He whispered. How did we hide all this? Because we are patient, Dr. Tanaka said. And because we are very, very good at lying. Every scientist, every engineer, every worker who built this facility took an oath. The Empire has spies, yes, but they cannot spy on 900 years of secrets that billions of humans kept perfectly. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed human space from above. But there were markers, thousands of them, in places the Empire did not know about. Hidden bases, weapons platforms, shipyards, all concealed, all waiting. The Empire thinks we have 300 military ships. We have 30,000. They think our technology is equal to theirs. We are 900 years ahead. Harrison felt a chill run down his spine. We have been preparing for this war since the moment the last one ended. Yes, Dr. Tanaka said simply. General Chen gave us 900 years of peace. We used every single day to make sure that if war came again, we would win. Completely. Back in the council chamber, reports were flooding in. Every human colony was ready. Every ship was armed. Every soldier was mobilizing. But there was something else too. Images from human worlds showing something unexpected. People were gathering in the streets. Millions of them. They were not panicking. They were not protesting. They were standing in silence, holding candles, honoring General Chen. And in that silence was something cold and hard. Determination, unity, purpose. Elena watched the images and understood. The Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had killed a woman who represented peace. And in doing so, they had given humanity something dangerous, a reason to fight that everyone agreed on, a cause that united every human from Earth to the furthest colony. Justice. Admiral, Elena said, how long until the fleet is ready? They are already moving, Madam President. Every ship, every weapon. We will strike in 72 hours. And the Empire? Their military is mobilizing, but they are slow, complacent. They think this will be like the last war. They think we are the same species they fought 900 years ago. Harrison smiled grimly. They are wrong. Reports came in from Empire space. Their communications were filled with confusion. Why were humans not negotiating? Why were they not trying to de-escalate? Surely they did not want another war. The Empire did not understand. They thought in terms of territory and resources. They did not understand that humans could fight for something else. For principle, for honor, for justice. They had killed the one person who kept humanity peaceful. Now they would face humanity at war. Elena stood and addressed the council one final time. General Chen spent 50 years building peace. She believed in diplomacy, in understanding, in giving people chances to be better. She paused and her voice became steel. She is dead, and we believe in something different now. We believe in making sure that anyone who murders our peacemakers faces consequences they will never forget. The Empire wants to know if we are serious. Let us show them. The meeting ended. Orders went out. Ships moved into position, and in the Empire capital, Emperor Zarthun Nanim sat on his throne, reading an ancient file that had been sealed for 900 years. A report from the last war, Marked classified and suppressed, it said, "Humanity does not fight wars. They fight crusades of annihilation. They do not seek victory. They seek the complete destruction of any threat. Peace was not our victory. It was their mercy. Pray they never go to war again." The Emperor's hands shook as he read. Outside his palace, the stars began to move in strange patterns. Human ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands coming fast. The 900 years of peace was over, and the Empire was about to learn what humanity had been preparing for all this time. Ship Commander Creole stood on the bridge of the Imperial warship Eternal Glory, watching the scanners with mild boredom. His fleet of 300 ships was approaching the human colony of Kepler Station. This would be easy. A show of force. The humans would see the fleet and surrender. That was what High Command had told him. Humans were peaceful now. Soft. They had spent 900 years hiding in their corner of space. They would not fight a real war. Creole was not so sure. He had read the old reports, the ones his superiors ignored. Reports about what humans did in the last war. But those were 900 years old. Surely things had changed. "Commander, we are approaching Kepler Station," his sensor officer reported. "I am detecting 40 human ships. They are holding position. 40 ships against 300. Creole almost felt sorry for them. Open a channel. Offer them terms of surrender. But before the communication could be sent, the human ships moved. They did not retreat. They accelerated forward directly at the Imperial fleet. "Sir, they are attacking," his weapons officer shouted. Creole watched in disbelief as 40 small human ships charged at his fleet. Madness, suicide. All ships, fire at will. Destroy them. 300 Imperial warships opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space. Missiles streaked forward. Enough firepower to destroy a planet. The human ships scattered. They moved like nothing Creole had ever seen. Sharp angles, impossible turns. They dodged between the energy bolts as if they knew where each shot would be before it fired. "How are they moving like that?" Creole demanded. No one had an answer. The human ships fired. Their weapons were different. Not the energy cannons the Empire used. These were solid projectiles moving at speeds that made Creole's blood run cold. 90% light speed, maybe faster. The first Imperial ship exploded. Then another. Then 5 more. "Shields are not stopping them," his weapons officer screamed. "The projectiles are phasing through our shields somehow." Creole watched his fleet die. Ship after ship exploded. The human vessels moved between them like dancers, firing with perfect accuracy. And there were other weapons. Missiles that released clouds of something that ate through ship hulls. Beams that seemed to cut through space itself. "Sir, our targeting computers are failing. Something is interfering with our systems." Creole understood with horror. The humans were hacking them. In the middle of battle, they were taking over Imperial computers and turning the Empire's own systems against them. One of his ships opened fire on another Imperial vessel. Then another. The fleet was shooting itself, confused, blind. Break formation. All ships scatter. But the human ships followed. They were faster, more agile, and there were not 40 of them anymore. Creole's sensors showed hundreds of small craft launching from the human ships. Fighters. Tiny one-person vessels that should not even exist in modern warfare. The fighters swarmed through his fleet like insects. They were too small to target effectively, too fast to track, and each one carried weapons that could destroy a ship 1,000 times their size. Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of her fighter. Her mind connected directly to the ship through neural interface. She did not think about flying. She simply wanted to move, and the ship moved. Her brain and the computer were one. She could feel the battlefield around her. Every ship, every weapon, every target. Information flowed through her faster than any alien could process. Her grandmother had fought in the last war. Had told her stories. Now Sophia understood why her grandmother had cried when she talked about it. War was terrible, but humans were very, very good at it. She selected 3 Imperial ships and fired. Her weapons were not like theirs. No energy cannons that could be seen and dodged. These were quantum-entangled particles that appeared inside enemy ships and exploded. No way to block them. No way to stop them. 3 more Imperial ships died. Around her, 100 other human pilots did the same. They moved in perfect coordination, sharing information through their neural links, acting as one mind with 100 bodies. The Imperial fleet broke. Ships tried to run, but the human vessels were faster. They hunted down every ship that fled. Creole's ship was dying. Fires burned through the corridors. His crew was dead or dying. He had started this battle with 300 ships. Now he had 20. Now 15. Now 10. Jump to hyperspace. He screamed. Retreat! Retreat! His ship jumped. 5 others managed to jump with him. The rest were destroyed. Of the 300 Imperial ships, only 6 escaped. The human fleet had lost 3 vessels. 3. Krial sat in his damaged ship, shaking. They had not just lost a battle. They had been slaughtered. Casually. Easily. The humans had played with them like a cat plays with mice. Back on Kepler Station, Admiral Harrison watched the battle reports with satisfaction. Good, he said simply. Send the data to every human fleet. Make sure they see what works. Captain Webb stood beside him, the man who had held General Chen as she died. His face was hard. Admiral, the Empire is broadcasting. They are calling for negotiations. Tell them we will negotiate when they hand over the Purity Movement leaders. Until then, we continue. And if they refuse? Harrison smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then we show them what humanity has been building for 900 years. Ship by ship, world by world. Until they beg us to accept their surrender. News of the Battle of Kepler Station spread across the galaxy faster than lightspeed communications. The recordings showed everything. Every moment of the one-sided massacre. Every Imperial ship that died while human ships danced between them untouched. The Empire tried to suppress the information, but it was too late. Every species in the galaxy was watching. Every planet saw what humanity could do. Emperor Zarthon IX watched the recordings in his private chamber. Over and over, he could not believe what he was seeing. This was not the humanity his ancestors had fought. This was something worse, something that had spent 900 years preparing for this exact moment. He ordered his advisors to bring him the sealed archives, the reports from the last war that had been classified and hidden, reports his family had kept secret from the public. What he read made him sick. Humans had weapons in the last war that violated every code of warfare. Biological agents designed to target specific species, nuclear mines hidden in civilian ships, suicide attacks where entire colonies volunteered to die if it meant taking Imperial ships with them. The war had ended not because the Empire won, but because the Empire's military leaders had begged for peace. They had seen what humanity was willing to do, how far humans would go, and that was 900 years ago with primitive technology. What could humanity do now? The Emperor looked at his advisors. How many ships can we mobilize? 10,000, Your Majesty. Perhaps 15,000 if we pull from border defense. Do it. Mobilize everything. Pull every ship, every soldier, every weapon. This is not a border conflict. This is a war for survival. But even as he gave the orders, the Emperor felt fear. Cold, deep fear, because somewhere in the data, buried in the old reports, was a statement from the last human commander. A warning. We chose to let you live. We chose peace. We could have kept fighting. We could have killed every one of you. We had the weapons. We had the will. We stopped because we wanted to. Remember that. Remember that we chose mercy. And pray you never see what we choose instead. The Emperor had not understood that statement when he first read it. He had thought it was empty bravado. Now, watching the recordings of Kepler Station, watching human ships destroy an Imperial fleet with casual ease, he understood. Humanity had chosen peace for 900 years. Now they had chosen something else. And the Galactic Empire was learning that the second choice was much, much worse than the first. Admiral Harrison stood in the war room, watching the holographic display of the galaxy. Little red markers showed where human fleets were moving. Blue markers showed Imperial forces. The red was spreading. Fast. General Chen gave them 50 years of diplomacy. Harrison said quietly, now we give them 900 years of war. He thought of Sarah Chen, dead on the floor of Concordia Station. He thought of her last words. Protocol Omega. She had known what would happen, had known that her death would unleash this, and she had accepted it, because some things were worth dying for. Some things were worth going to war for. Justice was one of them. All fleets, Harrison commanded. Advance. Show no mercy. Take no prisoners unless they have information we need. The Empire wanted to see what humanity looks like at war. Let us show them. Let us show them all. 4 months into the war, the Galactic Empire was losing. Not slowly. Not gradually. They were being crushed. Elder Krithon watched the reports from his home on the ancient world of Shartok. He was 300 years old, one of the few beings still alive who had actually fought in the First Human Empire War. His body was weak now, but his mind remained sharp. Too sharp. He remembered things he wished he could forget. The Emperor had asked him to come to the capital to advise. Chthon had refused for months but finally agreed. Someone needed to tell the Emperor the truth. The truth was simple. The Empire was doomed. Chthon's shuttle arrived at the capital world of Zenthar Prime. Once this world had been beautiful. Now orbital defense platforms crowded the sky. Military ships patrolled constantly. Everyone was afraid of humanity. The Emperor received him in the war room. Zarthun IX looked nothing like an emperor now. He had not slept in days. His robes were wrinkled. His eyes were haunted. Elder Chthon, the Emperor said, "Thank you for coming. I need your wisdom. How did we fight them before? How did we achieve peace?" Chthon sat slowly, his old bones aching. "Your Majesty, we did not achieve peace. They gave it to us. I do not understand." "No," Chthon said sadly. "Your family made sure you would not. They hid the truth. They told you we fought humans to a draw, that both sides were exhausted. But that was a lie. He activated a holographic display showing battles from the First War. We were winning at first. We had more ships, more soldiers, more resources. We thought we would conquer them in months. The battles played out. Imperial fleets advancing, human colonies falling, victory after victory. But then something changed. Humans stopped fighting like a civilized species. They started fighting to win, at any cost. The holograms showed new images. Human ships ramming Imperial vessels at light speed. Colonies that destroyed themselves rather than surrender, taking Imperial occupation forces with them. Weapons that made Chthon sick to remember. They used biological weapons designed to attack specific species. We lost entire worlds to plagues that only killed us, not them. They used nanomachines that we did not even know were possible. They hacked our computers and made our ships fire on each other. They poisoned our water supplies. They sabotaged our trade routes. They did not fight battles. They fought a war of extinction. The Emperor stared at the images. But we are here. They did not extinct us, because they chose not to, Chthon said. That is what I am trying to tell you. Near the end of the war, our military leaders realized we could not win. We had lost 70% of our fleet. A dozen worlds were uninhabitable, and humanity was still fighting with the same intensity as day one. They do not stop. They do not tire. They do not negotiate until they have completely destroyed the threat. Chthon stood, leaning on his cane. So we begged. We offered them anything, territory, resources, technology. We prostrated ourselves before them and begged for mercy. And they gave it. Yes, but not because we deserved it. Because they were tired of killing. Because even humans have a limit to how much death they can cause before it hurts them. They stopped not for us, but for themselves. Chthon looked directly at the Emperor. And your family hid this. Made it seem like we negotiated from a position of strength. Made it seem like the peace was mutual. The Emperor's face went pale. Then this war is one we cannot win. They have had 900 years to prepare. 900 years to build weapons and ships and strategies. 900 years to make sure that if war came again, they would win so completely that no one would ever threaten them again. Across the galaxy, human fleets were proving Chthon right. Commander Alex Park crouched in the ventilation shaft of an Imperial command center on the planet Thraxis. His twin sister Alexis was 3 levels below, planting explosives. They were part of Ghost Corps, human special operations that did not officially exist. Alex checked his neural interface. The building's security systems were offline. Alexis had already killed 12 guards and no one had raised an alarm. That was the difference between humans and other species. Other species had soldiers. Humans had weapons that looked like people. Package delivered. Alexis whispered through their private channel. Exfiltration in 60 seconds. Alex moved silently through the shaft. Below him, Imperial officers were planning their defense of the sector. They had no idea humans were already inside their most secure facility. No idea that in 60 seconds everyone in this building would be dead. Alex emerged outside. Alexis met him at the extraction point. They nodded to each other and pressed the detonator. The building exploded. Not with fire, but with something worse. A nanomachine bomb that would spread through the entire base, disassembling everything at a molecular level. Buildings, computers, bodies. In 30 minutes, there would be nothing left but gray dust. The twins disappeared into the night. They had 14 more targets on this planet. By morning, the Imperial military presence on Thraxis would be gone. And no one would know how it happened. This was humanity at war. No honor, no mercy, just results. On the front lines, the war was even worse. Admiral Harrison commanded a fleet of 5,000 ships. They moved through Empire space like a knife through flesh. Every Imperial stronghold fell. Every defense was broken. The Empire tried everything. They threw their fleets at the humans in massive battles. The humans destroyed them. They tried to defend their worlds. The humans bypassed them and struck at supply lines instead. They tried to negotiate. The humans ignored them. Hand over the Purity Movement leaders, humanity said. Or we continue. The Empire refused. They could not admit defeat, could not show weakness, so the war continued. And humanity showed the galaxy what total war meant. They released biological weapons on military worlds, diseases that targeted soldiers but left civilians alone. The Empire called it a war crime. Humanity called it efficiency. They used AI viruses that corrupted Imperial computers. Entire sectors went dark as their technology turned against them. The Empire called it unfair. Humanity called it tactics. They destroyed trade routes and supply lines. Imperial worlds began to starve. The Empire called it cruel. Humanity called it strategy. Every weapon humanity had been developing for 900 years came out. Every terrible idea that had been stored in Project Archive. Things that made even human soldiers uncomfortable. But they used them anyway. Because General Chen was dead. Because the Empire had chosen to murder a woman who dedicated her life to peace. Because sometimes justice required horror. The Empire began to fracture. Some species started questioning why they were fighting. Why were they protecting the Purity Movement? Why were they dying for someone else's crime? Revolts began on border worlds. Imperial forces had to fight their own citizens while also fighting humanity. The Empire was collapsing from within. Emperor Zarthon IX sat in his throne room watching his civilization die. Elder Crethon stood beside him, silent. "What can I do?" the Emperor asked quietly. "How do I stop this?" "Give them what they want," Crethon said. "The Purity Movement leaders. Give them justice." "I cannot. The military will revolt. The noble houses they will die," Crethon interrupted. "All of them. Everyone. That is what you do not understand. Humans do not fight for territory. They fight to eliminate threats completely. They will keep coming until either we surrender completely or we are extinct." The Emperor looked at the old warrior. "You think we should surrender?" "I think we should have surrendered the moment General Chen died. I think every day we delay is another day of death we could have prevented. I think," Crethon paused, "I think humanity is showing mercy even now. They are not targeting civilian populations. They are not destroying our worlds completely. They could. They have the weapons. But they are being careful. Precise. They are giving us a chance to surrender. That is mercy? For humanity? Yes, you should see their mercy and be grateful. Because if they stop being merciful, if they decide we are too dangerous to let live, then every world in the Empire will burn, and there is nothing we can do to stop them." A message came through. Humanity was broadcasting. President Vasquez appeared on every screen in Imperial space. "People of the Galactic Empire," she said. Her voice was calm, cold. "We did not start this war. We did not want this war. For 900 years we lived in peace. We asked for nothing except to be left alone. Your leaders murdered General Sarah Chen, a woman who dedicated 50 years to maintaining that peace, and when we demanded justice, your leaders refused. So we are taking it. We have destroyed 600 of your military installations. We have disabled 1,000 of your ships. We have shown you what humanity can do when we choose war over peace. But we are not monsters. We do not wish to exterminate you. We wish for justice. Hand over the Purity Movement leaders who murdered General Chen. Surrender them to human custody. Do this and we will discuss terms. Refuse and we will continue. We will dismantle your empire piece by piece. We will take every military asset you have. We will reduce your ability to threaten us to zero. You have 30 days to decide." The broadcast ended. The Emperor looked at Crethon. The old warrior shook his head sadly. "They are offering you a choice," Crethon said. "But it is not really a choice. It is an ultimatum. Give them justice or face annihilation. What would you do?" Crethon was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I would remember General Chen. I would remember that she chose peace. I would honor her memory by 23 days after humanity's ultimatum. The Galactic Empire collapsed. Not from military defeat, though that was coming. It collapsed from within. Species that had been part of the Empire for thousands of years declared independence. Imperial officers refused orders. Entire fleets surrendered to human forces without firing a shot. No one wanted to die for the purity movement. Emperor Zarthun IX sat in his throne room watching his empire tear itself apart. Elder Cruthon stood beside him, silent as always. "It is over," the Emperor said quietly. "Yes," Cruthon agreed. "If I surrender, if I give them the purity movement, leaders, will they stop? Humanity does not want to destroy us. They want justice. Give them justice and they will talk. But the empire as we knew it is finished. Humanity will not allow us to remain a threat." The Emperor stood. His robes felt heavy. His crown felt like a burden. "Then let us end this, before more die." He activated the Galactic broadcast. His message would reach every world, every ship, every species in known space. "People of the galaxy," he began. His voice shook, but he continued. "I am Emperor Zarthun IX. For 4 months we have been at war with humanity, a war that started when extremists murdered General Sarah Chen. I was wrong, my government was wrong, we should have delivered justice immediately. Instead, we protected the guilty. And because of that, thousands have died, billions have suffered, no more. I hereby order the immediate arrest of all purity movement leaders. They will be surrendered to human custody to face trial for their crimes. Additionally, I am dissolving the Imperial Military Command. I am offering humanity's government full cooperation in establishing a new galactic order." He paused, and when he spoke again, there were tears in his eyes. "General Sarah Chen spent 50 years building peace. We destroyed that peace in one moment of violence. I hope that her legacy can be something more than our shame. I hope that from this darkness a better future can emerge. I surrender, unconditionally." The broadcast ended. The Emperor sat back down, suddenly exhausted. Around the galaxy, weapons fell silent. President Elena Vasquez received the surrender while standing in the war room on Earth. Around her, the AUSH military commanders who had led humanity to victory waited for her response. "Confirm the surrender," she said. "Send word to all fleets. Cease offensive operations. But maintain defensive positions. This is not over yet." Admiral Harrison nodded. "What about the purity movement leaders?" "We will take them. We will try them. And we will make sure the galaxy knows what happens when you murder peacemakers." The trial was held on Concordia Station, the same place where General Chen had died. The location was deliberate. The message was clear. 12 purity movement leaders stood in chains before a tribunal, not just human judges but representatives from species across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see justice done. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every crime was documented. Every victim was named. The evidence was overwhelming. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty, but the sentence surprised many. Not death. Life imprisonment in human facilities. The prisoners would be kept alive through human medical technology, potentially for centuries. They would serve as living reminders of what happened when peace was broken. Some called it merciful. Some called it cruel. The prisoners would have preferred death. Humanity did not care what anyone thought. This was justice. Their justice. With the trial complete, President Vasquez met with representatives from every major species. The meeting lasted for weeks. Everyone knew the old order was gone. The question was what would replace it. "The Galactic Empire will dissolve," Vasquez announced. "Each species will have autonomy over their own worlds and systems. No more central authority that can drag everyone into war." The representatives looked relieved. "However," Vasquez continued, and her voice became steel, "humanity will take responsibility for galactic peacekeeping. We will maintain the largest fleet. We will patrol trade routes. We will respond to threats." "Who decides what is a threat?" one representative asked nervously. "We do," Admiral Harrison said bluntly. "You will have your independence. You will have your freedom. But you will not have the ability to threaten others. Any species that attempts to build military forces beyond self-defense will face consequences. You are making yourselves dictators," another representative protested. "No," President Vasquez said. "We are making ourselves guardians. You can govern yourselves however you wish. Practice any culture, any religion, any political system. We do not care. But you will not wage wars of aggression. You will not threaten peaceful species. You will not commit atrocities. She stood and looked at each representative. General Chen believed in diplomacy, in giving people chances, in hoping for the best. She is dead because of that belief. We will honor her memory, but we will not repeat her mistake. We will hope for peace, but we will prepare for war. Always. And if we refuse? Someone asked. Then you will face what the Empire faced. Overwhelming force, total defeat. We would prefer cooperation, but we will accept submission. The room was silent. Everyone understood. Humanity was offering a choice that was not really a choice. Join the new order, or be crushed. One by one, the representatives agreed. The new government was called the Concordat. Each species had representation. Each had a voice. But humanity had veto power over any military action. Humanity controlled the peacekeeping fleets. Humanity was the ultimate authority. Some resented it. Many feared it. But no one could deny it was better than war. 6 months after the war ended, Captain Marcus Webb, now promoted to admiral, stood on Concordia Station. Before him was a massive memorial made of white stone. Carved into it were the names of every person who died in the war, human and alien alike. At the top, in letters that could be seen from space, was General Sarah Chen's name. Below her name were her last words, "Protocol Omega is now active." And below that, humanity had added an inscription, "She died for peace. We killed for justice. May the galaxy remember both." Webb placed his hand on the stone. He thought of General Chen, holding her as she died. He thought of the war that followed, the lives lost, the destruction, the horror. Was it worth it? Someone asked. Webb turned to see Elder Crethon standing beside him. The old alien warrior looked even older now. "I do not know," Webb said honestly. "We won. We got justice. We built a new order. But the cost." "War always has a cost," Crethon said. "The question is never whether war is worth it. The question is whether peace was maintained long enough to make war unnecessary. 900 years was not enough." "No," Crethon agreed. "But perhaps the next 900 will be different. Perhaps with humanity watching, peace will last longer." Webb looked out at the stars. Human ships patrolled the space around Concordia Station. In fact, human ships patrolled everywhere now. Thousands of them, always watching, always ready. General Chen would have hated this, Webb said. She believed in diplomacy, not threats. General Chen was wise, Crethon said. But wisdom and reality do not always align. She built peace with words. You must maintain it with strength. The old alien turned to leave, then paused. Your species is unique in the galaxy. You are capable of great compassion and great cruelty. You build civilizations and you destroy them. You are the best hope for peace and the most dangerous threat to it. I know, Webb said quietly. Good. Never forget. The moment humanity forgets its own nature is the moment it becomes truly dangerous. Crethon left. Webb stood alone at the memorial, thinking. Across the galaxy, life continued. Trade resumed. Colonies grew. Children played in streets that had been battlefields months before. Peace returned. But it was a different peace. An armed peace. A peace maintained not by trust but by the knowledge that humanity was watching. And if that peace was broken, humanity would respond with overwhelming force. Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez, now a commander, taught at the Human Military Academy on Mars. Her students were young, eager, excited to fly the fighters that had dominated the war. Remember, she told them, we are not warriors anymore. We are guardians. Our job is not to fight wars. Our job is to prevent them, to be so strong that no one dares to attack, to be so vigilant that threats are stopped before they grow. She showed them footage of General Chen, an old woman in a dress uniform, speaking calmly at diplomatic functions, building relationships, making peace. This was General Chen. She spent 50 years preventing war. She was more valuable than any weapon, more important than any fleet. Sophia paused. But when she died, we had to fight. Because peace cannot be maintained by good intentions alone. It must be backed by strength. So we train. We prepare. We stay ready. Not because we want war, but because we refuse to be unprepared if war comes again. The students listened. They understood. Every human child now learned this lesson. Peace required strength. Diplomacy required weapons. Trust required the ability to destroy those who betrayed it. On Earth, in a small house in the countryside, someone tended a garden. The house had belonged to General Chen. She had planned to retire there, to grow tomatoes and watch sunsets. She never got the chance. Now the house was maintained as a museum. But the garden was still planted every year. Tomatoes grew in neat rows. Flowers bloomed. Life continued.